For this example, we need to solve the equation the absolute value of negative 4x minus 3 is equal to 3. Now, the first thing that we want to do when we're solving absolute value equations is to make sure they're in standard form. Standard form means we want the absolute value on one side and then everything else on the other side. I hope you can see that this equation is already in standard form. Once the equation is in standard form, then we can break it up into two separate equations. The first equation stays the same. We just drop the absolute value. The second equation, whatever value's inside the absolute value stays the same. And now our solution becomes negative. Remember, what we're doing here is we're trying to figure out what number we could put into this absolute value so we're 3 units away from 0. And remember, if we're 3 units away from 0, that means we're either equal to positive 3 or we're equal to negative 3. So that's why we set one equal to the positive case and one equal to the negative case. Now let's solve the equation. So we want to get x by itself on both of these. So I'm going to start off by adding 3 to both sides of the equation. We have negative 4x is equal to 6. Okay, now to get x by itself, we're going to divide both sides of the equation by negative 4. So one of our solutions, or our first solution, looks like it is, now this negative on the bottom, remember we could just bring it up to the top. This is equivalent to saying negative 6/4. Now negative 6/4 works, but remember we can also simplify some of these fractions as well. Notice that 2 is a factor of both of these. So instead of calling this negative 6/4, we can also call this 2 goes into negative 6 negative 3 times, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. So our first solution is negative 6/4 or negative 3/2. Now let's take a look at our second solution. Okay, so we would start off by adding 3 to both sides of the equation, just like we did over here. We get negative 4x is equal to 0, right? Negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Don't be afraid of zeros. A lot of students are afraid of zeros. Don't be afraid of zeros. Having a 0 is okay as long as it's in the numerator. Notice it will be in the numerator when we divide both sides of this equation by negative 4. And we know that 0 divided by anything except for 0 itself will always give us 0. So our two solutions for this equation are 0 and negative 3/2.